Good evening, everybody, and welcome to episode 4 of my vlog. Now, this is another one from home. I'm sitting in a car, as you can see, at my house, and I've decided to do this one on my thoughts, my opinions, and my predictions for the 2021 Formula One grid. Now, before we get into the video, I just want to say a massive thanks to each and every one of you who shared, liked, and watched my last vlog, my most recent one, where I attempted to learn how to drift in Wendella Park. I got up to 206 views, which I was very surprised at. I know compared to some videos on YouTube, it is a very small number, but for me, starting out to reach out to that many people, that was really cool, really special. So thank you to everyone for that. And like I said in the last vlog, hopefully we'll be able to do more crazy things like that as soon as the lockdowns ease off and this dreaded COVID virus goes away. So I decided to make this video because I've been thinking a lot about, who's going to be where next year and who's going to be driving what car. And I just thought instead of writing a big, huge, massive article that people are going to get bored of halfway through, I'd make a video. And I'm going to go through each team and talk about the drivers, talk about, the rumours, what's been going on, what's been said, and try and make a bit of a prediction for what the 2021 grid is going to be. So without further ado, let's kick it off. And we start with the world champions, which are Mercedes, of course. Now, one half of the garage is already confirmed for next year. Valtteri Bottas earlier in the year confirmed that he will be staying with Mercedes until 2021. But Lewis Hamilton now, the golden boy, the 6-time, soon-to-be 7-time world champion, I'm fairly sure, hasn't actually signed a contract yet. Now, I don't know why he hasn't signed a contract. There's been different things going out about money and contract agreements and stuff like this. I don't think it's any of that. What I think, I do think he's going to be there next year, most definitely. It is a bit puzzling to kind of figure out why this hasn't been signed yet, especially the fact that just on Sunday he set the world record in Formula One for most amount of victories. He beat Michael Schumacher's 91 race win record, and took his 92nd win at Portimao in Portugal. That's phenomenal, and he's at the very top of his game. No reason why he'd stop at the minute. But there is one thing he did say during the weekend to the media. I think it was to Sky Sports F1. I'm not entirely sure, but he did say that he isn't looking, something along the lines of he's not looking to stay much longer in Formula One, but he will be there next year. That to me is a bit of a shot to say he's thinking about leaving. I don't know. It's Lewis. He comes out with these funny things, and sometimes he means them, sometimes he doesn't. But what it says to me is he's trying to maybe take the 8th title next year, and then of course with the regulation changes in 2022, maybe he's not going to be a part of that. If he takes his 8th world title, he ends his career as the best ever Formula One driver. I think that'd be enough. Maybe I'm wrong. At the end of the day, he's at the top of his game. He's saying he's driving is as good as he ever has. There is a bit of stick about, oh, you're in the most dominant car with the most dominant team, you're faster than anybody by seconds, Yeah, but look, Lewis, my opinion, if you want to really show that you're the best in the world, stick around to 2022 and face the grid when they have a more even playing field. Let's see how well you do then. Sure, because it's not up to me. Let's see what happens. So, Valtteri Bottas confirmed for 2021 in Mercedes. Lewis Hamilton fiddling around the contract, but I'd say 99% sure he's going to be there too. So no change at Mercedes. Ferrari. Now Ferrari have 2 confirmed drivers. Charles Leclerc, of course, he's confirmed until the end of 2024 or something. I think something like that. It was a massive number when it came out first. It was like 4 or 5 years, but he's there next year. And the big news that came out last May was, of course, that they're actually dropping Sebastian Vettel from the team. We'll touch on where Vettel's going in a minute, but his replacement, of course, is going to be Carlos Sainz from McLaren. Now, this was all done, these contracts were all signed and everything before the start of the season. Obviously being done in May, and we had the big massive delay with COVID-19 and the whole that the season actually didn't have its first race until the Austrian Grand Prix in July. So a very late season start for Formula One. But what happened there was, drivers didn't get to see how teams were performing throughout the year before making a decision to move. So Carlos put pen to paper, signed for Ferrari, and didn't realise that they were actually as bad as they were this year. I don't like saying Ferrari they're bad. They're struggling. They are struggling, and it's not nice to see Ferrari struggling. Ferrari is a big team. It's the biggest team in Formula One. It's a team that should always be competing at the top and winning races and competing for championships. But Just hasn't went their way this year. Uh, Slight improvements in Portmao on Sunday, of course. The car did look a good bit better. Sebastian scored points. He only scored 1 point in 10th, and Charles came home for a pretty solid P4 finish again. That Charles was really driving the wheels off that car, but they're still not where they want to be. And I have the feeling that if Carlos had seen how they were going to get on this year, he mightn't have signed as quick. But he's the full faith in the team. He's leaving McLaren on good terms. Everybody's happy, and I'm sure, if any team can bounce back, we've seen it in the past. We've seen it in 2014 when they had that horrific SF14T, I think it was a dog of a car, and then they came back in 2015 and had this fantastic car that was challenging Mercedes. I think they'll do the same next year. The only worry is there that because everything has been so components and design restriction, everything has been so limited for 2021. Part of the reason is because they're trying to get the money down a bit and make sure everybody gets past this COVID virus and all that it's been doing, and making sure that we have 10 teams on the grid in 2021 and beyond. Essentially, the cars they have now is the cars they're going to be using next year. They're gone very strict on what they can change, what they can't change. So that's Ferrari. It's going to be hard, but they're improving the car, and I think next year the car it'll be okay. So Ferrari, Charles Leclerc, Carlos Sainz maybe reconsidering his option now. Why did I sign? But I think it'll do well. I just hope that they don't treat Sainz as a number 2 driver. He's definitely not a number 2 driver, and he can give Charles more than a run for his money. So I hope they treat them fairly, and I hope Carlos does get a decent chance of moving his career forward at Ferrari. So Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz at Ferrari 2021. Red Bull Racing now. Red Bull, Max Verstappen, obviously he's a golden boy there. Much like Charles Leclerc, he's on a long-term contract with them, I think, to the end of 2023 or something like that. So he's confirmed. He's still there. If the big thing at Red Bull, of course, is that Honda is leaving the sport at the end of 2021, leaving Red Bull potentially without an engine supplier. Now, worst case scenario, if they can't find an engine supplier or they can't come up with their own engine supplier, they will have to revert to Renault engines. Now, we big fallout a few years back with Cyril Abiteboul, team principal of Renault, and things like this. We all know about now, but Renault will be forced to even give them engines, because with the new rules in Formula 1 recently introduced, that if such a thing happens where a team is left without an engine supplier, the supplier with the least amount of teams will have to supply that team. There'll be no yes or no, they have to supply them. So at the minute it's Renault. They're only supplying McLaren and themselves. From next year on, McLaren will be moving to Mercedes, and Renault will only be supplying themselves. So if worst case scenario into 2022, Red Bull have no engine, they will have to go back to Renault. There was a clause in the contract that something about if Honda left, Verstappen could be a free agent or something, but I don't think that's going to be a problem. I don't think he's going to go anywhere else. The 2 seats of Ferrari are filled, as we know. Mercedes, I can't see him there. I don't know. I can't see him there. I think Mercedes' future is pretty secure with the likes of George Russell and people like that. So, and then of course the other side of the garage, Alexander Albon. I like Alex. I do. I really do. And he's been performing. He performed quite well last year when he got put into that seat. But I've been trying to defend him at each race, but it's getting harder and harder. He's just not performing, is he? And it is a shame, because I really did think that when he got in there and got to start this season, a new car, a car that he was familiar with from the ground up, it would have done a lot better. And he would have done a lot better, but he's really struggled this year. He reminds me a lot of Pierre last year. He just can't get a grip on the car at all. And of course, the rumours coming out there is that Albon's gone after 2020. Albon's going to be replaced with Gasly. No, they're not going to swap Albon and Gasly again, because especially after Gasly struggled in that car initially, if you put Gasly back in that car and he struggles again, what do you do then? Obviously there's 2 free agents next year, Sergio Perez and Nico Hülkenberg. Red Bull did admit at the Nürburgring 2 races back that it was actually Helmut Marko, the Red Bull driver advisor, that admitted that they were actually in contact with Hülkenberg to drive for the team that weekend, because they were unsure after Alex Albon came back with an inconclusive COVID test. Now, the COVID test it did come back as positive after, and Alex got the race. And of course, we know Nico actually covered for Lance Stroll at Racing Point for that weekend, so he got to drive anyway. But you know, Helmut did kind of throw it out there in interviews that they are looking at Hulkenberg and Perez. They are looking at Hulkenberg and Perez for that second seat next year, and I just fear that if Alex doesn't seriously pull up his trousers and performs well in these last couple of races, he's going to be out. He's going to be out the door, I think. You know, it's and it would be really sad to see, because again, I think Alex is very good. You know, he's a great driver, very aggressive, very, very talented, and it would be a real shame to see him let go, because there is nowhere else for him unless Red Bull put him back into AlphaTauri. But I don't know. You know, I really don't know. That's a tricky one. My prediction for next year, I think they'll hold on to Albon. I do. I just, maybe it'll happen, but I can't see a Hulkenberg or a Perez in that car. I don't know. It's a really hard one, that one. Now, I mentioned Perez as a free agent, and that is because, of course, at Racing Point, it was announced quite a while back that he'll be leaving the team, despite having a contract there to the end of 2022. Who's replacing him? Sebastian Vettel, of course. And I think this is a great move for Vettel. You know, of course, we know next year Racing Point becomes Aston Martin Racing, another manufacturer in Formula One. And I think the move, you know, the team's very positive, and we're very kind of open into getting him to race there. I think, you know, it'll bring his mojo back. You know, at the end of the day, he's struggling. He's struggling at Ferrari. You know, he's not happy with the car. He's not happy with the team. He's not happy with the performance. You can see it in him. It's all getting to him now. And to be honest, the sooner the season ends and he gets out of Ferrari, which is an awful shame to be saying, considering the publicity he gained when he joined Ferrari and all this, you know, I'm going to win titles and this and that. It never came true, unfortunately, for Sebastian, and it's been more of a heartbreak than a love story with Ferrari, you know. But I think the move to Aston Martin, you know, bringing Sebastian into that team will boost the team. We know how well Racing Point is going at the minute, of course, and you know, I know the whole controversy with them copying Mercedes cars and everything, but the thing is, because of the fact that they can essentially carry their car into 2021, they'll know, even though now, like, you know, they take a different concept on, they'll know how to engineer the parts after working with what was basically a Mercedes concept. So I don't know if you're getting what I mean, but you know, like, if you drove a Ferrari for a year and you were the head of an automotive company, you drove a Ferrari for a year and you thought, you know, I want to make a supercar that's just like this. You know, that's when you drive the Ferrari for a year, and then when it comes to next year to building your own supercar, you're like, oh, well, the Ferrari did it this way, the Ferrari had it that way, the Ferrari did it this way. That's what Racing Point are going to be able to do from now on, because they know what Mercedes are doing. They can copy this concept they have on the RP20, change it a tiny bit, you know, so they don't get caught for copying again. But they have all the ingredients to build an absolutely awesome car, and to be bringing that into 2021 with Aston Martin and Sebastian Vettel, that's one hell of a recipe. Of course, the other seat, Lance Stroll is going to be there. You know, that's quite a given, seeing his father owns the team. But recent races, you know, Stroll, I don't mean, I know, I don't want to knock the guy. You know, on his good days, he is awesome. He is really, really good, and he has come on an awful lot since he joined Formula One. But you know, between him and Perez, you know, drop Lance or drop Sergio. Sergio's a bad call, you know. It's just, it doesn't feel right. You know, he saved the team from going bankrupt a few years ago. He's the one that, or he in the group, he was part of a group that brought Lawrence Stroll in there and essentially saved hundreds of jobs. And to just see him go, nah, yeah, it doesn't sit well with me. But I hope Sergio finds a drive. You know, he's one of the guys I like in Formula One. He's one of the guys that always does well. Obviously very talented, and one of the best drivers on the grid, as we've seen so many times, to be able to manage your tires and, you know, get them a lot longer than any other driver would. It's put him in an awful lot of good positions in recent years, podiums galore, you know, because of his ability to watch his tires. So yeah, I think, you know, to lose out on Sergio, especially going ahead into Aston Martin, you know, it's a bit of a bold move. But to get Sebastian Vettel in there now, you know, a veteran, a very talented guy, I still think he's one of the best on the grid. He's had a recent few years that have been terrible, but you know, he's still got it. You know, he can still do it, and I think he'll prove a lot of people wrong next year. So moving on to McLaren. McLaren, as we said already, Carlos Sainz will be leaving the team at the end of the year. Lando Norris will be staying there for 2021. I don't know if he's contracted for any more years, But the person who is actually joining Lando Norris at McLaren is going to be Daniel Ricciardo. Now, this is like an F1 fanboy's dream to have Norris and Ricciardo in the same team. I can't imagine how cool that's going to be. Two exceptionally great drivers. You know, Ricciardo, he's been in Formula 1 quite a good few years now. We've seen some awesome things from him. You have Lando Norris in the second year of F1, again, showing some awesome, fantastic performance. Don't mind my weird analogies. But yeah, definitely Lando Norris, he's a star for the future. And then, of course, the other thing that McLaren have going for them, apart from at the minute, which is an ever-improving car that just looks awesome, is the fact that they're going to be running Mercedes engines next year. Now we know for quite some time Mercedes engines have been the best power units on the grid. McLaren Mercedes back again, Norris and Ricciardo as the drivers, and a team that seems to be improving with every Grand Prix to get to. I mean, you can't go wrong. McLaren are on the up, there's no doubt about that. And I think that if things go well in 2021, it can be a very, very promising season for McLaren. So best of luck to them. You know, again, McLaren are like Ferrari. Their team, in terms of history in Formula One, are very unique, very important. And to see them struggling like this, it's wrong. It's a shame. It's a shame not to see the team up there scoring wins, scoring victories, scoring podiums. You know, challenging for championships even. They've had a rough few years. They're coming back over now. I think they're a team to watch, definitely. Renault, of course, lose Daniel Ricciardo. They'll keep Esteban Ocon next year. Again, another ever-improving team. You have to question, would Ricciardo have signed for McLaren had he seen the improvements that Renault would have made this year? I don't know. You know, they're improving really, really rapidly. But look, you know, the deal is done. McLaren are an improving team too. I think Daniel's going to be a little bit more comfortable and confident in McLaren than he has been at Renault. But Renault are definitely a team on the up. Of course, they're going to change to Alpine F1 team next year. That's what the team's going to be known as. And they've put in one hell of a driver to replace Daniel Ricciardo. And that is, of course, Fernando Alonso. He's going to be making his return to Formula 1 next year alongside Esteban Ocon. Claims he's not finished yet in Formula 1. He also said he'd come back after retiring from 2018. And yeah, you know, I don't know my opinion on Fernando coming back. I'm not entirely sure about it. He is a legend of the sport. He is one of the best drivers ever to grace Formula 1 car. But, you know, we'll just have to see. You know, I hope he does well. Obviously, it'd be great to see Fernando back up there winning again. He is almost 40 years of age, but as Kimi Räikkönen proved at the weekend, age is only a number. And it doesn't deter your ability behind the wheel of a Formula 1 car. So Esteban Ocon and Fernando Alonso at Renault for 2021 to rebrand as the new Alpine F1 team. Let's see now, who are going to next? Haas. Haas-tastic. Haas dropped a big bombshell last Thursday, which was the announcement that they were going to be dropping both Kevin Magnussen and Romain Grosjean for 2021. Now, I'm not surprised that they dropped Grosjean. He's been I'm talking the last 2 or 3 years, just hasn't been there, crashing and this and that, and it's just been a bit of a horror show. But I'm surprised they dropped Kevin Magnussen because, you know, he's a driver that, given the right circumstances, can do really well. And we've seen it in quite a few races this year where he'd take other opportunities on track to kind of jump the gun and move up the order. And if I was to pick a better of the two, definitely be Magnussen. So it was a bit more painful to hear that Kevin Magnussen was being dropped by the team as opposed to Romain Grosjean. What will that mean for Haas coming forward? Well, you have the likes of Nico Hülkenberg that's free, you have the likes of Sergio Perez that's free, both drivers, both talented, both proven in Formula 1, and both have big sponsorship behind them, which is of course what Haas needs at the minute, saying that they're struggling with money or whatever. But of course Haas. How can a 4-letter word be so hard to say? Haas. But yeah, you know, Haas is also a Ferrari team, and they've been very interested in the Ferrari Junior Driver Academy at the minute. Of course, given FP1 sessions, they were meant to give an FP1 session to Callum Ilott on the Friday of the Eiffel Grand Prix, but of course it was a washout Nürburgring on Friday. Nobody got out on track, and he unfortunately missed his chance to drive the Formula 1 car. But they're still very interested about the young drivers. Of course, you have 3 drivers at the minute that are looking for seats next year. 3 Ferrari drivers, should I say. Callum Ilott, Robert Schwartzman, and Mick Schumacher. Mick Schumacher's actually leading the Formula 2 Championship with 2 rounds to go at the minute. So it'll be interesting to see how well he does. I'm hoping he'll take the victory. If he takes the victory and takes the F2 title, that'll mean he'll be F2 champion and cannot compete in F2 next year, which means it's going to be either F1 or basically nothing. So you have Haas looking at that. You have Haas looking at different drivers. You know, they have Gunther Steiner, the team principal, has said that they have a range of different drivers they're keeping their eye on at the minute. So it'll be very interesting to see who they pick. I think it'll be somebody like Hulkenberg and Perez, and then they will pick a junior driver like Schwartzman, Schumacher, Ilott, whoever, to keep Ferrari happy. I think it'd be wrong to pick 2 rookies going into 2021. I think the right idea is to pick an experienced driver to pair up with a rookie, and that works. You know, that does work quite well. You know, we see that at Alfa Romeo with Raikkonen and Giovinazzi. We've seen it at Ferrari with Leclerc and Vettel in recent years. You know, that's the way most teams seem to go with their drivers, and I think it's the right move. If Haas really want to move forward next year, they're going to need an experienced driver. And even into 2022, you know, the new regulations, they're going to need an experienced driver to help with the car development. So it's all doors open at Haas really at the minute. You know, I think it's going to be a seasoned veteran again with a rookie in the team next year, whoever they'll pick. And Alfa Romeo as well, looking at the young Ferrari drivers for seat next year. Now, Kimi Raikkonen is hemming and hawing about whether he'll stay next year. I have a strange feeling he will stay though. I do, you know, I think he will, and I think he proved to Portugal he's more than capable of keeping up with everyone else. You know, P16 to P6 in the very first lap. I mean, that was insane. You know, that was insane driving from Kimi. But you know, 41 years of age, he's still got it. A lot of people complain about his age, and you know, he's been so long. Why doesn't he give the young lads a chance? But look, you know, if he's happy, if he's still well able to drive the car, which he is, then why not? You know, he's a dependable driver. He's well able to score when he can, when the car is performing well. He's well able to do his very best still. He still has the talent. He still has the love for Formula 1. So leave him there. You know, why fix something that isn't broken? If he wants to drive and compete and do well for the team, let him. That's what I say, you know. And so I believe Kimi's going to be there next year. 2021, the second seat, Alfa Romeo. Antonio Giovinazzi, there's been rumours that he will stay, but I'm not convinced he's done enough to keep the seat. Especially when you have the likes of Schwartzman, Schumacher and Ilott and everybody behind him clutching at his heels for the seat. You know, you have to ask the question, you know, that second seat, that's a Ferrari owned seat. That's why Giovinazzi's in it, a Ferrari driver. You have to question how long Ferrari are going to kind of think about, you know, leaving him there, and, you know, instead of thinking, you know, maybe we should just try somebody else in the seat. He's a good driver. He's the only driver this year to make up positions in every lap, every starting lap of the race or something like that. So, you know, he is very good. He's great on his good days. But for me, Giovinazzi has not shown enough to stay in Formula 1 next year. And again, you have the likes of Hulkenberg and Perez. Hulkenberg actually confirming back in August at Silverstone that he was in talks with a number of F1 teams, one of which was rumoured to be Alfa Romeo. So, you know, I don't know. We'll just have to see how that goes. Again, like Haas, that's another open book. I'm not entirely sure where that's going to go. I'm trying to think if I left any team out apart from Williams. Williams is the last team I wanted to talk about. I always do this, you know. I'm such a fan of Formula 1, I can't even remember the teams. You have Mercedes, Ferrari, McLaren, Red Bull, Toro Rosso. We didn't talk about AlphaTauri. We'll touch on AlphaTauri. AlphaTauri is actually very interesting. I don't know why I forgot it, because Pierre Gasly, I think, will stay there next year. Daniel Kvyat, again, much like Giovinazzi, I don't think he's done enough. And the one thing that I've been thinking about is, of course, with Honda departing from the sport at the end of 2021, they're pulling the engines for both teams. So AlphaTauri and Red Bull are going to lose these engines. But there's a driver in F2 called Yuki Tsunoda. He's a Japanese driver. He is very, very good. He's backed by Red Bull and Honda. I think Honda are going to push to get Tsunoda into the F1 car for 2021 before they leave. I think, you know, I think that'll be what Honda will be aiming for next year, and I think that'll come at the expense of Daniel Kvyat. Obviously, next weekend we go to Imola for the Emilia Romagna Grand Prix. I think I pronounced that right. It used to be the San Marino Grand Prix years ago. Far easier name. But I, I think Yuki Tsunoda's driving at Imola. I don't think he's driving on the weekend, but he is doing a test session with AlphaTauri at Imola in the weeks to come. I think that'll be an evaluation, and I think he'll be announced as driving alongside Pierre Gasly in 2021. I think Daniel Kvyat, again, like I said, like Giovinazzi, he just doesn't. He hasn't done enough this year to convince people that he has to stay, especially in comparison to Gasly. Gasly, even taking the win aside that he got in Italy, because that was, I suppose, somewhat gifted with Hamilton's penalty. He won the Grand Prix in the AlphaTauri, which was really cool. But he's been solid top 5, top 6 every race. He's been performing unreal this year, Pierre Gasly, and it's been an awesome bounce back to see Gasly come back after the trouble and the turmoil he had last year at Red Bull. Gasly also has been recently linked to be talking to Renault to replace Esteban Ocon. Now, I didn't touch on that when I talked about Renault because it is only a rumour. It's only a rumour I've seen once or twice, but I don't honestly believe it, to be honest. I really don't. So yeah, I think Yuki Tsunoda will be in there next year. I think Honda will be desperate to get him into the F1 drive. Basically, here's your F1 car. We're leaving next year. It's going to be up to you. I think that's what they're going to be doing. I think it'll be for something for Honda to say, well, look, one of our drivers actually got in there at the end. We don't have this driver development program for nothing. So I think that'll be the 2021 AlphaTauri lineup: Gasly and Tsunoda. Williams then I think is the last team. I have to do my I have to do my count again. So we've touched on Mercedes, we've touched on Ferrari, we've touched on Red Bull, we've touched on McLaren, we've touched on Renault, we've touched on AlphaTauri, we touched on Haas, we touched on Racing Point, and we touched on Alfa Romeo. So Williams is the last one. Right, Williams have confirmed our drivers for 2021 already. They are, of course, George Russell and Nicholas Latifi. Now, in recent weeks, the team was sold to a US firm called Dorilton Capital. They're taking over the team now. They have vowed to keep the Williams name and the FW chassis number in the team as they go forward, which is a nice touch. But the one sad thing about that takeover is, of course, that Claire and Frank Williams have stepped away from the team. Now, to be honest with you, I never thought I'd see that. I never thought I'd see Williams, of all the dynasties in Formula 1, to pull away. And I was one to think that Frank would have stayed involved until his end of days, really. I think Frank, he put so much into that team. I never thought he'd be a guy that did walk away from it. I thought that, it'd be his passing to take him away from that team, really, but look, they put the hands of the team in, I think, is a very exciting future. I think, it sounds very promising. The Dorilton Capital and its the people involved there seem very interested and very excited about taking on Williams. And although they have confirmed, the only thing is, although they have confirmed Russell and Latifi for 2021, there has been rumours going out that the team are looking at Sergio Perez, which means Russell will go. And the main reason Russell and not Latifi will go is because Latifi has a major sponsorship put in there through Lavazza Coffee and Sofina Foods, which, obviously you see the logos on the cars. These are actually companies that are, I think, either owned or very heavily involved by his father. So that's, they're basically funding the team at the minute. So I can't see Latifi leaving. It's going to be Russell. It'll have to be dropped if the team wants Sergio Perez. Now, this would be a really bad stab in the back for Russell. We've seen Russell in the last year and a half dragging those awful Williams cars. I don't want to say awful to Williams, but they have really been not great. But dragging them around the circuit and just getting the very best out of them, and I think that's just shows Russell's true potential. I think aside Lando Norris and Alex Albon, Russell is definitely one of the stars of the future. He is a Mercedes back driver, and I do fear, even though it's not Mercedes came out and said it's not their choice whether Williams keep Russell or not, but I do fear that if Russell is dropped from that team, I can see Mercedes pulling the power units. And for Williams to lose the Mercedes power units would be a massive kick in the behind for them. So I think they're going to have to be very careful about what they decide there. I don't like this whole thing about teams confirming drivers and then changing it. I think it's very unfair. Obviously they did it to Perez. Maybe they're doing it to Russell. I don't think that's right. If you confirm a driver for next year or whatever, That's it. That's the writing's on the wall. He's driving regardless of what happens, regardless of what driver comes free. If you've signed Daniel Ricciardo for McLaren and you change your mind and go, oh no, I want Sergio Perez. No, you can't do that. That's not fair. But I do hope Russell works it out. I do hope he gets to stay at Williams in 2021, even if, especially if they improve in the coming years. Again, with the regulations, they have a big chance now to really pull their socks up and get back up that grid, back where they belong, and do well. We've seen it in the last major regulation change in 2014 when they turned to the V6 turbo hybrid engines. Williams went from ninth in the constructors to third in the space of a year. So that just goes to show they can do it. The ingredients are there to make such a jump in new regulations, and I really hope that this time around Williams does grab it like they did the last time and get up that grid. Again, like Ferrari, like McLaren, Williams are not a team you want to see struggling at the back, and to see them become the current backmarkers of Formula 1, considering their history, all the champions they won, the people that drove for them, the things they've done, it's wrong. So I do hope Williams can jump back up there. So yeah, that's my 2021 Formula 1 drivers' prediction. Let's just go through it again, what I think. So Mercedes will be Bottas and Hamilton, of course. Ferrari is Leclerc and Sainz. Red Bull will be Verstappen and Albon. I'll say Albon because I just can't picture anybody else in that car at the minute. I'll say Albon. McLaren, of course, is Ricciardo and Norris. Renault will be Alonso and Ocon. Racing Point or Aston Martin. Of course, Renault as well will be Alpine next year. Alpine F1 team. Renault and McLaren. Yeah, we've done Renault and McLaren. Renault will be Alonso and Ocon. Racing Point, of course, will be Aston Martin. F1 will be Lance Stroll and Sebastian Vettel. We have Alfa Romeo, which I think will be Kimi Raikkonen, and if I was to put a name in that second seat, I'd say it'd be Mick Schumacher. I just think the whole idea of Raikkonen, after battling with Michael for so many years with championships and everything, to have Mick in there, I think would be a very nice story, gain a lot of publicity, and it'd be a lot of positivity for the team. So I'm going to say Raikkonen, Mick Schumacher. Haas, I'm going to say Perez. I think I'm going to say Perez and Hulkenberg for Haas. Yeah, I'm going to say Perez and Hulkenberg. I don't think they'll sign a Ferrari junior driver. Perez and Hulkenberg, definitely Perez anyway with the sponsorship. If they're to sign a junior driver, it'll be Callum Ilott. Well, either Callum Ilott or Robert Schwartzman. It'll have to be somebody like that. They're the only two left, but I think it'll be Callum Ilott. If not Ferrari driver, Hulkenberg and Perez. So it's Haas, Alfa Romeo. AlphaTauri will be Gasly, and I'm pretty sure it'll be Yuki Tsunoda. Expect that to come in the next few weeks. I'm pretty sure it'll come out. And finally for 2021, I think it'll still be Russell and Latifi. I do. I think it'll be Russell and Latifi. In terms of Perez, where is he going to go? I think he'll go home to Mexico and maybe start IndyCar in the US. I think Zach Brown was actually saying recently that they would be interested in giving Perez a go in the McLaren IndyCar team. So, and especially just going over to IndyCar, they've dropped Oliver Askew. They've signed somebody for next year. I'm not sure who. I can't remember who's going to. I have to look that up. But if Perez could bring his sponsorship into the team, you could see McLaren running third car next year in IndyCar for Perez. So we'll just have to keep an eye on that and see how that goes. But I think Perez will stay in Formula 1. I'd like to see Hulkenberg back in Formula 1 next year. And yeah, I think it's going to be a very mixed up grid next year. I think it's going to be a grid that's going to be a few surprises in it, and definitely it's going to be a grid that's going to be pretty exciting to watch. So roll on 2021. Alright guys, I'm going to leave it there. I'm after talking for 35 minutes straight, blubbering and blathering my way through the 2021 Formula 1 predictions, and I'm going to drop it there for now. Thanks very much for watching. See you later. See you on the next one. Make sure you like and subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you very soon. Bye.